you will gain objective is that you gain an fundamental understanding of the three core emotional triads, and from three core groups you have 9 emotional fixation types, and identify and the most likely type that you are, and identify your story. How have you changed? Why do you have that emotions? And refine your origin story, your identity based on that. A quick history of the Enneagram. So, unlike the MBTI, which was developed first by Carl Jung in the 1930s, Enneagram, even though a recent phenomenon in the 1950s, but actually it has ancient roots. It was actually combined and condensed from various ancient spiritual systems, and then further refined and developed by modern psychologists in the 1950s, 1960s. But it's not the most, yeah, it's quite a long history kind of system. It, yeah. So the fundamental to understand about the Enneagram types is that everyone have all 9 types, 9 kind of emotions, drive. But you usually have 1 or maybe 2 stable personality. Like any personality type, you have everything, but there's something stable about it, something long-term, some long-term pattern that you always go back. And it can fluctuate depending on your stress level and your maturity. And number of ranking doesn't mean better or worse. You have type 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 until 9, 8, and 9. But higher doesn't mean better. So no type is objectively better or worse. Further develop on this, the fundamental is that each of us is born with a truth or a holy idea that we lost touch with. So we overcompensate for this lack of the holy idea by we obsess with certain way to fix things, or ego fixation or passion is the way we compensate for that. And with an ego fixation, you have basic fear, desire, strength and weaknesses. And what the Enneagram advocates, similar to a lot of spiritual system, is that your personality type is just a prison. Everyone, regardless of type, should eventually grow out of their type to uphold all the different diversity, to be free, truly free. So that is something a bit different from MBTI, is that it's a bit more, a bit negative, but also positive at the same time. While MBTI is a bit more objective scientific, this one is more spiritual. So I'll go into more details. So there are 3 centers of intelligence in the Enneagram types, governed by 3 parts of the body and driven by 3 core emotions. They call the 3 groups or 3 triads. You have feeling, or like the heart. You have thinking, or like the mind. And the gut, or the body, is the wisdom of the body. So I would say, compared to MBTI, Enneagram add in a dimension of the body, the gut, which I think is quite accurate. MBTI is more, you can see a lot more clearly the line between feeling and thinking. But Enneagram add in the gut. Feeling is more governed towards, is more governed by shame or relationship between people. Shame means you are scared of being judged by people. And that for 3 different, so yeah, so then you have thinking. Naturally, it's not about relationship anymore. Thinking is about survival, about how to be better, how to beat your opponents. It's very, it probably remind you of rational type in the previous temperaments. They are a lot more about survival and security. And the interesting thing is the body or the gut type group is more driven by anger or rage. It's a very interesting. So it's about freedom. The idea that everyone should have their own freedom, so they will get very angry if they don't get their way, if they they lose their control, if they are controlled by other people. So that is a three body parts and three center of intelligence. I hope that makes sense. And the last thing is that each of these emotions are dealt differently by different types. That's why we have 9 types. For example, for the same feeling of shame, there are 3 different strategies that people use. The helper overcome their shame by being very helpful to other people. They are very attentive to the needs of others. So that's, I mean, if I take care of everybody, if everybody needs me, then I'm not ashamed anymore. I'm needed. I'm valuable. The achiever also similarly quite extroverted, but they deal with shame by the fact that they want to become successful. They develop a successful external image. And so that, okay, you can't shame me because I'm successful. I do whatever society tell me. Have a nice car, nice house. The individualist is the most introverted types here. They are the artist. You can't shame me because my emotion is unique. My past is different from yours. You can't judge me. They turn it away from that. Society can't judge me because I am unique. You don't understand. You have 3 types. Then thinking, how they deal with fear differently. The investigator is also more introverted. I deal with fear by I gather a lot of information. I learn a lot. I study on the books so that I am more prepared with the world. Loyalists, they deal with fear by the fact that they will seek out guidance. They seek out authority. They seek out cultures or established a tradition to guide them. The enthusiasts, on the other hand, they deal with the fear by being, they try a bit of everything. That's why they're named the enthusiasts. They're quite extroverted. Oh, I know a bit. I know this a bit. I know this a bit of this. I know all the good thing in the world. So I'm not scared anymore because I have everything. Okay, then the last one. Sorry, bear with me. This is a bit. I think it's a lot of details, but how people deal with anger here. We have again 3 types. The challenger is the most extroverted type. The typical CEO or businessman, the managers, they use the anger in a very constructive way to manage resources, to win, to make sure that they achieve the objective. You notice a lot of these people, they are very good with establishing authority and stuff, assert themselves. The peacemaker, sorry, this one is type 9, not 8. They are a bit like the monk. The funny thing is that they're asleep to their emotion of anger. They're like, I don't have anger. I am at peace. Everyone should get along. But deep down, the reason why they are the peacemaker is because they still value their freedom. If I go along, if everyone is harmony, if everyone doesn't notice me, I will get away. I can be on my own. And lastly, the reformer. This one is my type. It's a bit in between the challenger and the peacemaker. They're not asleep to their anger, but they kind of suppress it. I learned about it and I realized that I actually have a lot of suppressed anger in the past. And that turned into, they still try to control and maintain their freedom, but in a more subtle way, like using rules, using standards, make sure that everything is done well. So that is the overview of the 9 types and the reason why we have 9 types. Any questions? If not, anyway, at the end of this, we have a similar reflection on what you think is your likely type or 2 types, and what is your story about the different emotions. But to help you understand a bit more, I will go through each of these types in more details. Type 2, so if you understand where everything comes from shame and the need for relationship, helper, they achieve their goals to be needed by the fact that it's flattery. They want to be loved, they hate to be unloved, so they flatter and they make sure that people feel happy about themselves. Achiever, naturally, they want to feel valuable, so they use vanity. I mean, okay, I'm good, I'm proud of myself. Holy idea is a bit abstract, and I think it's might not be covered here, but it's way bigger. It's a holy truth that you forget. That the holy idea is something that if you eventually realize about this idea, then you will overcome your fixation. Individualist is melancholy. Okay, it makes sense because okay, I am different from other people. My identity is different. I am unique. So they fantasizing about the past, about the pains. Right? So you try to think about any type here that make more sense to you. You can have up to that 3 types, 3 main types from each of these groups. Help so see whether which one is more of your strategy here. And out of these 3 main types, then you probably have 1 dominant types as well. Now we talk about the fear types. Investigator. They are very stingy with their resources and their time because they always feel like they don't want to be helpless and incapable. If they don't have enough resources and time, the world will take away things from them. It's about fear of losing, of security. They want security. They all want security, but investigator, they retain their resources and time. Loyalists, they always need guidance. They don't trust their gut and instinct. So the ego fixation here, they put it cowardice. They always worry. If you probably meet some of these people, they always worry. Oh, what will happen? No, so many things go wrong. They might be likely loyalists, and they need support. They need guidance. Enthusiasts is like the typical FOMO, fear missing out type people. They always plan because they don't know what the future holds, and they always plan and try different things to make sure that they are not trapped in pain and deprivation and be satisfied. So think about which strategy here is you likely use when it comes to the mind. Then the last one, anger and body. Reformer, they are fixating on changing things. Resentment mean, okay, I'm not happy with this. I'm not happy with this. I want freedom by the fact that I organize my environment, my work to exact standards. Everything around me is not good enough. So their holy idea is perfection, and they resent. They have a lot of suppressed anger. Challenger is more extroverted. It's not about resentment anymore. Challenger is about vengeance. You are my enemies. I always typical. If you know them well, they are very black and white. Either you are my friend or my enemies. I think reformer is really more towards like, okay, everyone is friends, everyone is good, but you are not good enough. I will give you way to be better. Challenger is more like group thinking. I have to win the next. I have to beat the other competitors. I have to beat the other company. I have to be better. And peacemaker is, indolent, as in they are a bit too peaceful. They ignore their own anger. They ignore the negative. They are a bit too positive. They like to escape. Another one of the things that they might be is that they're a bit slothful, a bit slow moving, because they got too focused on peace of mind. I'd rather watch movies endlessly. I might daydreaming about the past or the fantasy, but I don't want to deal with the problem. I don't want to fight or anybody. There's good and bad. There are two sides to every personality. And the whole idea, they're all governed by the need to have freedom. And when you realize that about the holy idea, that okay, freedom is always there. No one is trying to rob away your freedom. Everyone is love. Then you don't focus too much on like challenge people or daydreaming anymore. You can be more present. Or reformers, they stop fixing things, stop resenting people, and be in the moment and be more accepting. I hope that makes sense. This is a bit more spiritual and more, and I think this is a lot of information for this webinar. But this is the overview. And the quick idea here is that I'm not going into too much details. You can look it up, but there is a natural growth path among different types. In just a logical way. Let's say, for example, type 1. So the green color here means growth. The blue color means disintegration or regression. So type 1 make a lot of sense to me. For example, when I was younger, less developed, I more disintegrate more toward type 4, which is more melancholous, more like the artist. The artists mean they are not very type 1. When they're healthy, they are very structured, very details oriented, very productivity oriented. Type 4, on the other hand, they're the emotion type. They are very artistic, they are very creative, but they are not very productive. So when I was younger, or when I'm unhealthy, I become more self-absorbed, more emotional. But being type 1 is not perfect also. Very resentful, very judgmental. So I have learned so far that type 1, when they grow, they start to develop their thinking more. They become more open-minded about different possibilities. So it's more like a healthy 7. Or even everything is fun, more playful. So type 1 usually more judgmental, more rigid. They become more fun, more lively, like type 7. So similarly, any type here, there will be a natural flow from different groups. And it is a good guide for you to develop yourself. So nothing is more important than reflect on what is your most likely types. What is your top 2 to 3 types that you identify with the most? If possible, you can identify the most your core type, but sometimes it's not possible. You might need more time. Even for me, it takes me even years to finally know about my core types. So the step 1, what are your 2 or 3 top Enneagram types? And based on that, does that make sense on your strengths and weaknesses that you have put before? And what is your story? Why do you have that fixation? Have you become more healthy? Like I mentioned just now, from someone who is emotional, I become more productive but rigid, and then I become more open-minded. To help you a bit, I think you can go to each of these slides and pay attention to the desire, basic desire, and then the ego fixation. Is it to feel love, feel valuable, or to be unique, for example. That will point to your dominant types. So step one, look at each of these slides, pick out one. Step two, out of these three types, see if you are able to identify one that is most authentic to you. If you can't, it's okay. And the last step is to link it back to your strengths and weaknesses and your story. In my types, mastery or guidance, or to see satisfied, to not miss out on things, on knowledge. And fear, so I think fear, desire and fear together, think about the basic fear, desire, they are very important. One, like enthusiast is very much about, they don't like to sit still. They always need to be on the move to try new things, because they feel like if they stay still, they will miss out things. They will be trapped in pain. And the anger, the body types. Type 1 is more about integrity and balance. The head being corrupt, head being bad for not following the standards, not doing the right thing. Challengers, about protecting themselves. They don't want to be harmed and controlled by their enemies, by others. Peacemaker, on the other hand, their basic desire is just peace of mind. Peace. It's quite easy to see. And because their fear is that they don't want to be separated from others. Does that make sense? Anyone want to share? You can start with the what is your most likely type first. You can answer the other question later. I think that's because I believe that there's a lot of information here. Start with the first two steps I mentioned just now. Three types and then core types. Core type. Remy, Izudin. Anyway, this doesn't have to be an answer now. I think it's, especially for Enneagram, it's a bit tougher, because that's why usually I like to do training on Enneagram much later, because it's very personal. And it deals with emotions, and anything that is emotion is a bit deeper. Example, okay, I can share my example. It took me quite a while. I used to think that I was type 4, because as an MBTI, INFP in MBTI, INFP, the correlation, the statistics show that they are most likely more toward type 4, the artist. So for many years, I thought I was type 4. But then after a while of really learning about the system, I realized that no, it was just me being unhealthy, being young. I noticed that I have a lot of suppressed anger. I like to control. I have a thing with control things. You control what people do, and resentment. So that is my core type. And of course, there are positive things as well. I realized a lot of the weaknesses and blind spots I had in the past I didn't realize. People have told me that I have certain weaknesses, but I didn't listen, for example. But I realized that some of my main weaknesses are like perfectionism and the need to control, and yeah, being a bit OCD with things. And that objectively, I used to think they are good things. But if too much of them, I realized a lot of moments in the past I used too much my perfectionism and my idealism, and that hinders relationship with other people. My anger, my suppressed anger affect my relationship with my colleagues, and also hinder my progress with my work because I was too perfectionistic. Yeah, I could learn from other types and let go of my own emotions. Okay, in the interest of time, I just we just do some quick based on. Yeah, it's really about reflect on your goals that you have written, your strengths, weaknesses, any obstacle step. There will be a further coaching if you want. I think Remy, I mentioned before, there is a follow-on 6-week group coaching in beta access. If you are keen, it's 80% off. Similar, the purpose is similar, but this will be more advanced understanding of MBTI and Enneagram specific to your type. Whatever I think is necessary within the scope of these two systems, I will cover. Things like the 8 cognitive functions, what are your preferred functions. The foundation will be there, foundation and advanced. The ability to read yourself, of course, but also the ability to read other people, which is, I think, is very important. Once you know about yourself, you feel confident about what is your type, if you have any doubt. Yeah, 80% off. The beta, I think the intake will be on the 1st of Feb, so 1 week before you can sign up. This is the offer. And 6-month guarantee and direct access. If you have any question, you can just chat with me, email me or anything. Thank you so much for joining me. So we finished on time, 1.5 hours. Keep in touch.
Right.
Okay.